Okay. Welcome to the Cuyahoga County Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee meeting of this July 7th. Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Greenspan.
Here.
Mr. Germana.
Here.
Mr. Hairston.
Here.
Ms. Conwell. Ms. Conwell is absent. There is a quorum. Also like the record to reflect that Councilman Miller is in attendance.
Thank you. And I anticipate Councilwoman Simon also. Public comment related to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
In their packet, we have the minutes of the April 7th meeting. If they're in order, I'll accept the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you. Resolution 2015-0119.
Resolution number 2015-0119, a resolution making awards on requisition number 29884 to various appraisers in the total amount not to exceed $266,000 for real estate appraisal services, subject to share of sales for the period 8/1/2015 through 7/31/2017. Authorizing the county executive to execute the contracts and all other documents consistent with said awards in this resolution, and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Who's here from the sheriff? Oh, turn that on.
Jim Bitterman, Sheriff's Office, Civil Division. I would like to request that we offer contracts to, there actually is 7, I believe on your paper, the paper you may have in front of you, there may be 8 names, but there are actually 7. The last one is a typo, I believe from the legal department. I am not certain how it got there. We would like to offer these contracts to bring on some extra general, certified general appraisers so that we can cover some issues that we've had with commercial appraisals, industrial appraisals of that sort that are more time intensive, and we feel that it would put us in a safer position to have more talent on board. We also have some existing appraisers that may be leaving us at the end of their contract, which is January 1st, 2016.
Okay. And your Crystal Williams is not to be?
She is not. She's already presently an active appraiser.
Okay. Are there any questions? Mr. Miller? And let the record reflect Ms. Simons.
What are these appraisals used for?
To establish minimum bid for court cases. Basically, we send out a team of 3 in accordance with Ohio Revised Code. They come to a finding amongst themselves with any comparable data that they may share from that region with previous sales, and they will deliver a price, a quote to us, a market value, and then we will use that market value and set our minimum bid at 2/3 of that value in accordance with code.
And does it ever happen that nobody makes an opening bid?
Yes, it does happen.
And then what happens to the property?
That would be the plaintiff's option to either refile it with the clerk's office to attempt to reoffer it at our sale again. And after multiple times, they may approach the court to ask for a set minimum bid, basically to cover their per amount of monies owed. Sometimes the set minimum bid is less than what our appraisal is. And then they also have the option, if our minimum bid is below their per amount, they have the option of coming and bidding against anyone else that's at the sale, bidding to protect their interests.
Okay.
And that's usually the bank, right?
Yes.
Any other? Yeah, these actually are very important positions. Used to be a highly sought after political appointment, and we've kind of gotten away from that. Not that those folks weren't qualified, but now I'm very comfortable with the way in which we do it now, where we have as qualified, if not better qualified people and merit, as opposed to just who you know. So,
thank you. All of our contractors are licensed.
Is there a need to move this forward on an emergency basis, or?
No, however, the date stated on the contract is August 1st. So I
guess there is a need.
I am uncertain of the timeframes needed to do
Well,
this.
we'd be pressing up, if we sent it for the full 3 reads, it wouldn't make it. Yeah, it wouldn't make it, so it would have to be under an emergency basis. Although we'll need to amend Resolution 2015-0119 to remove number 8, Crystal A. Williams, from the list. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay. Is there any other questions regarding this? Mr. Germana?
Mr. John, I'm just looking at my calendar. If we put this on for the 14th and then approve it on the 28th, full 3 readings?
That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, if you would be.
I don't have my calendar. Does it make it?
Yeah, it makes it.
Okay, so we'll just move it for second reading
Thank you.
to the full council.
Thank you for your attention.
I just have a question.
Sure.
These 7 were picked out of how many candidates?
We had a total of, forgive me for not being exact, if I would guess approximately 34, 35. 2 of them were on our staff, and when it came to renewal last time, we had some difficulties with some documentation and fingerprint results. So we put them in this group. So they have been presently off staff. They were originally scheduled to renew with the last group, but were unable to.
Okay, and then can you just tell me briefly what the process was of weeding it from 35 down to 7?
The biggest part of it was basically qualifications. In the appraisal world, there are 3 levels. There's licensed, certified, and general. We have a very well-rounded group, fortunately. However, we have had some people that have expressed their intentions to retire. Generals are the ones that I'm targeting now. That's our biggest concern. A general appraiser can appraise anything, including this building that we're in today. There appears to be a trend moving forward on more commercial foreclosures. I believe that the loans, I do not know totally exactly how some of these loans are structured, but I believe that they are on a much shorter time frame, and I've been informed by some of the plaintiff's attorneys that some banks will not renew due to decreased values, so they will basically ask for a form of like balloon payment. And if the person in the structure that has the agreement, loan agreement, is unable to, then they'll move forward and foreclose and offer it. So there's a bigger need for those. And when we looked last time, we were coming out of the crisis from 07 through 10. And actually in our region, we experienced more of a residential hit. And now that's slowly changing to certain tax foreclosures and commercials. So now that's our criteria now that's my target appraiser right now as a general.
Okay, and then was there like a point system that was applied to these?
Yes, there was, based on their answers to. I apologize for not having the questions here, but it was a basic standard question regarding our area, whether they were comfortable working in all regions, all parts of our county, things of that sort, and experience, levels of experience, what types of appraisals that they've worked on. Also, I'd like to mention that the Fed has gotten very strict on, because again, due to the national foreclosure crisis, they're a little bit more strict now on issuing general certifications. Therefore, it is, looking forward, it is probably a great idea to have more certifieds and give them the opportunity with our county to get the hours needed to apply for a general license. This will help guarantee in the future that we have enough staffing to meet the county's needs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And if we're all comfortable with that, I'll accept a motion for Resolution 2015-0119 as amended to the full council for second reading.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
for general discussion, we have the Emergency Operations Center and fire damper program. I'll take the fire dampers first, if you don't mind, Mr. Bo. I think that'll be a little faster.
Fire damper project is still ongoing. Currently, we're in a phase of repair and replacement at the Virgil Brown building. What we found is that we have a total of 390 dampers in the building. Several of those dampers are in banks, which means that you could have anywhere between 4 to 6 fire dampers in a single bank. To date, we have found 16 of those fire dampers that we've been retrofitting with new angles that have failed, because when we retrofit the fire damper with the new angle, we test it again to make sure its functionality meets SMACNA standards. If it does not meet SMACNA standards, then we will replace. Those have been ordered, and they should be here within the next 2 weeks for replacement. For the fire damper abatement at the courthouse, we have completed the RFP that is at OBM for requesting funding, and we have sent that to law for review. As soon as law gives a review and OBM gives us the funds, we'll move forward with putting that out for bid. The fire damper replacement project at the courthouse the RFP is in final review. We should have that completed within the next 2 weeks. I'll tell you, there's a lot of interest in that fire damper replacement. I'm getting a lot of phone calls from contractors who are anxious to bid on that project.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Greenspan first, then Mr. Miller.
Sure, thank you. Do you have, I know in the past you've submitted a summary of the status of damper projects in different facilities. Do you have that?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, before the end of the week, the full final fire damper report updated from January through June will be on our Public Works website.
Okay, just percentage-wise, where are we?
Percentage-wise, we're 100% complete in all the buildings except for Virgil Brown.
Okay. All right, thank you.
That's identifying.
Right, identified.
Mr. Miller.
I think this question partially got asked, but have we now inspected all the fire dampers that we're responsible for, or did I hear we've inspected all of them except for some in the Virgil Brown building? What's the status on inspections?
All the fire dampers have been inspected. At the Virgil Brown building, we're retrofitting. The fire dampers do not meet SMACNA standards because the angles were welded when installed. You have to have breakaway angles. So as we are installing new angles, we are re-inspecting to make sure that the damper closes as required by SMACNA standard.
So we don't have any fire dampers on county property that we're responsible for that have not been inspected?
Yes, we do. The county courthouse, we have 105 fire dampers that we're going to put out on bid for inspection.
And other than that, they've all been inspected?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's progress.
Mr. Germano?
This is just going to be going to one bidder?
No. This will be put out public bid. Anybody who has a company that can meet SMACNA standards, which are the minimal required standard, they'll have the ability to bid on the project.
But there's just going to be one final bidder for all 105?
Yes.
How long is that going to take?
That process will probably take about 6 months. We have to begin the abatement prior to the replacement project. We can't send people to work in the places that have asbestos in it. So this is all driven by being able to abate the complex first and giving a safe work environment.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Miller?
Is 105 the total number of dampers at the courthouse?
Yes, that's a total number that needs to be replaced. The total number of dampers for the courthouse in all is 160. 55 of those were inspected, and the ones that needed to be replaced were replaced, but the balance of those we cannot safely reach.
Okay, understood. So there were 55 that we could safely access, and we inspected those and replaced as necessary.
Yes, sir.
And we have 105 that still need to be inspected, so those might not all be replaced.
They're going to have to meet SMACNA standards, and in order to meet SMACNA standards, personally, I feel they're going to need to be replaced.
Okay, so and this bid is going to cover both the inspection and the replacement. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yes.
Yes.
With the expectation that we would probably replace all or almost all of them.
Exactly. And one of the requirements of the RFP will be access points so that in the future we can gain access to those fire dampers and inspect those.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing? When we first embarked on this, I knew the initial kickoff was going to be rough because there's some things we couldn't see and we couldn't get to. How many are out there that you know of that have to be replaced that haven't been replaced?
There are 16 at the Virgil Brown that need to be replaced. Those should be replaced within the next 2 weeks. I've got 4 of them at the jail 2 that are being replaced today, and then the 105 at the courthouse.
And that's it. Everything else works. Because we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of this. And again, I think we've been very patient. Not that you've just recently been put on this, and I appreciate what you've done so far to help move this forward. But once we're done with this, as far as the ongoing inspection, if you could put together that 4-year plan is what the ordinance says. We want a 4-year plan of going back and rechecking these. After we get access and the courthouse is done, it should be a lot smoother where we can handle that in-house. But I really would like you to keep in mind that 60-day notice on fixing these or removing these and replacing them, just clearly on a safety scale. That was been our concern from the beginning. So going forward, if we can have a 4-year plan as to how you're moving along, so we can be comfortable that the standards that we have in the ordinance are being met and the county's doing their obligation as far as keeping the folks that are using these buildings safe and their guests that are coming through. And again, we knew it was a big job and it was going to be tough and we were going to run into problems, which I think is why we've been very patient with the initial kickoff of this. So once we get the courthouse done, Virgil Brown done, and you're comfortable enough to come back to us and let me know so you can report that we've done them all, they've all been replaced, and that will kick off the 4-year inspection and divvy everything up so it's a little bit more even for you and your workforce. Have you found that you have enough workers to at least throw this into what they do daily?
We do not. And I've asked for a cost analysis, which I received from Fiscal this morning. The cost of temporary trades as opposed to permanent trades for doing a project of this magnitude. And once I've got all of the analysis in place, I'm going to present that to Mr. Dever.
Okay. So
I foresee having to put on staff.
And then the analysis of putting them on staff either permanently or temporary versus going outside doing the RFP, because
Yes.
in essence you're dealing with the same workforce.
Exactly.
And I would suggest that would be something we would like to see.
Sure.
Okay?
We can do that.
Any further questions regarding this? Thanks for the efforts, past and present, and going forward. I'm glad you're where you're at.
Thank you, sir.
This is a promotion, isn't it, for you?
Yes, it is.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emergency Operations Center plan going forward. Director Bova, I have a hard time getting used to that.
Me too. Chairman Gallagher, I'm joined by Brandt Carol and George Taylor today. We just want to give you an update of where we're at with the Emergency Operations Center. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, especially to your group. First of all, we all know EOC stands for the Emergency Operations Center. EOC is a location used for multi-agency coordination of information and resources to support an incident, whether it's natural or unnatural. The county EOC, the main administrative staff is presently at Courthouse Square, where they will stay under this plan. And that's about 16 employees. So they will stay at the Courthouse Square. In there, they have a small conference room that functions as a mini EOC if needed for small, like maybe flooding in Rocky River or something that we could do on a small scale. We still have and always have had a MOU with the City of Cleveland and their EOC. I'm not a big fan of their location of where it's at, but it is where it is, and it's highly functional. It's a very good operation over there. But we do have an MOU over there if we were needed to go into there, and we've always had that. And we also have 2 portable units, EOC units. God forbid if something happens to the EOC downtown or the one that I'm going to discuss in a second. We have the ability to take 2 portable servers out along with 25 laptops to get the team together outside of the disaster area. Currently at the Juvenile Justice Center, and I encourage everyone that hasn't been out there to please go out there. We've added some pictures in here so you can see. It serves presently as the backup EOC if we don't use Cleveland's. And our goal would be to turn that into our main EOC. It's 75% built out as we speak. It has a training room. It's 2,500 square feet. And there's 2 important factors: is it's guarded 24 hours a day because of where it's at, and it's already has the generator capacity for redundancy purposes. The capabilities, as you can see in the picture, are audio, video conferencing, cables, 2 large display screens, the phones, Wi-Fi, direct county and Cleveland network access, radio coverage, and we have additional rooms that are right off the main EOC room for breakout rooms for full discussions with the team, with the JIC team. Also, we have additional rooms on the 3rd floor of the Juvenile Justice Center. The next 2 photos that you have are slides of the actual JJC as it stands today. Our goal would be to enhance it, finish it completely so you have 100% capability out there. And a lot of it is construction related. One is to raise floors, because if you look close in the pictures, you can see wires running along the floors and stuff. So we'd have to raise the floors out there. Permanent workstations. Right now they're temporary workstations out there as needed. A backup network option. Window coverage. Depending on what emergency we're dealing with, we would like to have a roll-down window system inside to secure the facility. Access control, which is speaks for itself. And then partial wall, we would build racks. And then the parking, in true emergency situation, I'm just going to have the street shut down, but near it, next to it. But we'll work in the meantime with the parking lot attendants over there for emergency operations. Again, the next 2, you can see the windows, the visibility outside. That's what we would like to protect. There's 2 or 3, maybe 4 big windows there, but we would have that emergency system set up inside if needed. And then the rest speaks for itself. Turning the JJC location, the primary EOC, has clearly, when we're having this conversation, cost savings to the county, but most importantly, it will provide full functionality as a main EOC for us and whoever else wants to partner with us throughout the county. And the rest of the EOC that was earmarked for Broadview Heights, we're addressing the other parts, CCOM and the housing for all the vehicles. We're still looking at other options there. So that's my brief update. I'll take any questions.
Actually, the reason that we targeted this date was to give the administration time to present a package, dollars, cents, top to bottom, A to Z, this is not that. Are we prepared to do that?
I can give estimates, $500,000 to finish the EOC at the JJC.
And what about CCOMs?
CCOMs, we are still working out final plans where to move CCOMs. We're going to co-locate with myself and a couple members of the county executive's team have been out and visited every single location, PSAP locations, and we're going to be sending a recommendation to the county executive in the next couple of days. We're still discussing it.
In the end, when we have a final total, we did bond money out for this, and there's going to be a substantial amount of money left over, I would assume. We're going to want to know where that money's going, and what I don't want to hear is that it's going into the general fund.
Okay.
It was borrowed for a purpose, and if we're not going to use it for that purpose, I don't want to change the purpose. I would prefer to leave that in safety issues and services as opposed to throwing it, because I had, not that we're doing that, but I had heard some scuttlebutt in the newspaper, some people saying, well, we'll just throw that in the general fund. That would not be, I wouldn't look upon that as a proper move for those dollars. I was actually hoping for more of an in-depth, what we're going to be looking at with the, and actually I don't know if this is Emergency Operations Center in name only, or it certainly isn't a total replacement for what we had scheduled out in Broadview Heights. While I understand and was a little uncomfortable with the move on the Broadview Heights site, I understood the concern of the $3 million, alleged $3 million overpayment or outside the budget for that facility, which I still don't really agree with, but it is what it is. CCOMs is a key to this because we were going to use CCOMs and the placement of CCOMs there to expand dispatch for those cities that were not associated or were associated and wished to move to CCOMs. Recently we had Beechwood alter their plans, so now that money is going to be coming back, and I have a number of cities in Ms. Simon's district that are going to either be looking to consolidate or go somewhere else, which again would have been going to CCOMs, which was, and I think this needs to be said and said clearly, which was the money maker. That's where we were going to be making money, and I think that has been overlooked, and it literally would have paid for itself with those cities coming into CCOMs for dispatch, because we would have made money on that. Where are we at with CCOMs as far as bringing in other cities with dispatch?
Well, I don't want to speak for the collaborator, but I know that we've had numerous discussions with several cities to join the existing PSAPs. And Eddie, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think while I agree it was the opportunity, I think after we've exhausted all the regional centers and we've met with them all, had lengthy meetings, and what I came away with, and I know Brandy and Frank did too, is that the spirit of consolidation has never been more evident with the players. So not only obviously are we going to co-locate at an existing center, but we're also going to make sure that those that are unaffiliated, and we have several out there, we have them on the east side, we've got them in the middle of the county, we have them some on the west side, to make sure that those that are unaffiliated, now's the time to consolidate and to come along, whether it's where we go, and we're going to make that decision probably, we're actually meeting with the executive this week to make that recommendation, or make sure that they co-locate and consolidate with an existing center. Obviously, for a community, they can't do it on their own. You can't dispatch anymore on your own. You're going to have to co-locate. You're going to have to join an existing center. Some of the existing centers that are operating that we've been to, Bedford Heights, the Bedford Hospital, which is the southeast, Strongsville, the new technology alone makes it virtually impossible not to join an existing center. We went out to Parma, saw the recent construction in Parma, so I think in the end of the day, I know that we've talked, and obviously the goal is to try to get it down to 3 or 4 or 5 in the long term. But I think a lot of the cities that are not affiliated at this point, number one, they're waiting to see where we go, and number two, they're waiting to see how it all shakes out with everything else. So. While I think it was a setback initially when we decided not to go into Broadview Heights, I think in the end it's going to force the consolidation to all the ones that are not co-located at this point.
Yeah, we're with this committee definitely is well aware of the problems and concerns, and as far as getting people comfortable, and we spent a lot of time making sure people were comfortable. And my concern is that that's kind of gone out the window. And the beauty of the Broadview Heights or wherever it was going to be centrally located was the east and west were comfortable enough to move dispatch to that location, as opposed to somebody on the way west side, dispatch coming out of CCOM, say it's on the way east side. We're going to have to start building those bridges again. And that took, quite honestly, a couple of years to build those bridges initially. And my concern is that at best it's shaky. And not having a plan going forward, especially now with CCOMs. I understand, and I did take a look at the Juvenile Justice Center, and with some alterations, so I think we can squeak by there with, if you want to call it Emergency Operations Center, you can call it that. But I was looking for more of a plan today for the entire world of security for Cuyahoga County and surrounding areas, and I don't think we're getting that. And I wanted numbers, hard numbers, and we're not getting that. But I'll open this up to questions. I know Ms. Simon certainly had some real concerns about the dispatch in Beechwood coming apart and where those other cities go. And Brandy, are you running that, coordinating that as far as the CCOMs with other folks wanting to come into dispatch?
As Chief Boba said before, we're still, sometime this week, we plan to have that final plan for CCOMs, and it still is, to answer your question from before, the intention to move forward and take on clients for CCOMs. Although right now it's a little bit up in the air on where we might end up, we still never lose sight of the fact or lost sight of the fact that we still want to take on more clients and grow as a dispatch center. So that's something that's somewhat stalled, and we did have a few setbacks, obviously, in the last couple of weeks, but as Ed said, I suspect in the next couple of weeks that'll be able to pick up some momentum because we will have a plan that we can give to this committee with all 3 pieces and parts and numbers and for how we're going to move forward.
Ms. Simon, did you want to?
Thank you. I was just concerned about the money that council had allocated for the Beechwood site, and now that that's fallen apart, apparently, at least temporarily, and the community's reorganize, I hope, which they're attempting to do. Will that money be available then to fund, hopefully, a new consolidation?
We are in discussions. I know the 4 cities are still together. Beechwood's the only one that we've met with Mayor Gordon and the other mayors. So we're still in discussion, but the 4 cities are still strong and they're still solid. And we're going to have a discussion on our committee for the funds. And that's going to happen very soon, too.
So that, like we talked, I think, again, this is something that you somewhat inherited. And I keep going back to, I think initially we were talking 2, maybe 3, ideally 2, with Cleveland being number 3. But it is what it is, and we're at where we're at right now. We have to deal with it. But it just seems to me, if I'm one of those 4 cities, and even Beechwood to a certain extent, I'm still a little concerned and up in the air as to where are we going to plant our feet. And I think we, as the leaders, should have had those planned out.
All I would like to say is we are working, and I'm not stalling by no means, but we just want to make sure we got our T's crossed and our I's dotted. But we're confident at the end of the day when the final picture comes out, especially with the 4 cities, I think they'll be satisfied.
How much more time do you need?
Well, we're meeting with the executive Friday.
Correct. So by next week, I'll have answers for you. So,
Mr., are you good?
A question about timeline also.
Okay.
I mean, folks keep the lights.
Right, because I'm not, but some of my colleagues are getting inquiries as to what's up.
and just so you know, we've had discussions with the police chiefs and the fire chiefs and the mayor, so they know that our decision's coming, and we told them 2 weeks ago. So by the end of this week, we'll have an answer.
That's
I'm
why I was
confident we
saying
will.
the CCOM's location and choice is going to matter.
Correct.
And I'd rather go slow rather than fast, believe me, just to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we can be accused of putting the pedal to the metal on this project at all. It's been worked on and worked through numerous times, but the change from Broadview Heights has kind of torn us down to the basics again, and we have to build it back up. So going slow, I don't have a problem with, but having answers for these communities readily is somewhat of a problem for at least some of my colleagues they can't answer the question. And it can be a bit embarrassing. Mr. Greenspan.
I can be embarrassing, or the questions can be embarrassing.
I'm gonna leave that open.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll start with CCOM, with the EOC. So the anticipated budget's $500,000.
That's correct.
And that includes all the equipment and everything you would need, or is that just physical build out?
That's everything.
So what type of equipment? You went over raising the floors and obviously protecting the windows and the power generation's already there. And,
correct.
And everything else. On the power generation, is there redundancy or is it just a single generator?
It's a single generator that they have. We are looking for some network redundancies right now, because right now there's one network that comes in the building in case for whatever reason that went out. And those are cost also included for the network redundancy in the $500,000.
But power generator?
There's just one generator. It's completely on generator. All the outlets are on generator, but it's just on generator.
And your budget does not include a second generator?
It does not.
That was obviously one of the big issues I raised with the other entity, and I'm not. Is that the generator for the entire juvenile justice center?
It doesn't. It's only for certain areas of the juvenile justice center. Okay. For example, the third floor, I think it's mediation, and some of the people that don't need 24/7 or emergency services aren't on it. We did ask about if there was a load or some way we could split it off, and it was a significant cost increase. And obviously, as you said before, it would be another entire generator for the room. But right now, it's just on backup generator. And to answer your other questions, there's limited other costs because that room has been built out. We put about $300,000 in brand new AV and equipment, new racks. Completely self-contained, the racks for that room a couple years back, but the $500,000 does include workstations, so 30 laptops for that room. Because it was a backup EOC, we usually brought our laptops over there, but now that it's going to be something more permanent, we want something on site that's always ready to go for people to use.
Okay, I would make the recommendation regarding a backup generator, even if it's not an entire the whole juvenile justice center backup, at least the EOC component be on backup generation. And budget. If you could put together costs to see what that would be.
Okay.
What about HVAC? Is there any redundancy there?
I don't have that answer. I apologize. I can have Public Works when we meet with the entire solution that you are looking for. I can make sure we have these details for you, Councilman.
And also, as far as protection of the servers, are they going to be in closets, cabinets that are climate controlled?
Right now, they're not in climate controlled. They are within that room, and again, if that room is climate controlled, then that's again the benefit of having them self-contained and not in that room, rather than a separate data room that housed for the entire facility. And that's what in the pictures we're going to put walls around those, and so there will be locked closets, but that room will be climate controlled for them.
But the server racks will be in a climate-controlled area as long as that area has HVAC.
Correct.
So,
correct statement.
So once again, I think it'd be advisable to look and make sure that the servers themselves are in an HVAC climate-controlled facility, even if, they do make HVAC climate controlled server rooms. I mean, portable, portable meaning they're not physically part of the structure that you can bring them in. But it may be advisable, especially if that room has no HVAC. If we have a summer storm and power goes out and the backup generator is on, but there's no HVAC for whatever reason, or there is no, there's no climate controlled environment there, those servers will go down. So that's so those two areas, if you could look at those. Do these meet, does this EOC with its build out standards meet any of the federal standards? Any of the FEMA standards that we talked about with the previous design or configuration?
Some of them, but it does meet some of them. Go ahead, sorry.
It does meet some of them, but not all of them. Clearly not the 240 mile an hour wind, but the actual functionality meets it.
Okay. Those are my questions on the EOC. On CCOMs, so I've got this broken down in 3 categories: EOC, CCOMs, and vehicle staging. With CCOMs, we're currently compliant with state law insofar as a wireless dispatch, and that we only have 1 in the county, and the state law says we have to get down to 4 of a county our size. I believe, was it 2016, the end of 18? So we're currently compliant, so we're not in jeopardy of losing that funding. As far as CCOMs is concerned, that's where we can use the 911 funding to build out the equipment for that facility.
That's correct. That'll be part of our proposal when we come back.
Is the intent to have just one wireless receive site like we currently have in the county, or was the intent to build multiple facilities?
2, right? Cleveland.
For wireless calls, again, it would just be wherever CCOMs goes to. We would continue to take all the calls for the county, and then the timeline is still such that in August of this year, Cleveland would be taking their own wireless calls. So it would only be the initial points for wireless calls.
And they would serve as redundancy for one another?
That's correct.
And we currently, or do we currently provide Cleveland with any funding out of this 911? I know we gave, it was $500,000, if I remember, I'll look to Mr. Harrison, because we had that, it was $500,000 for 1 year, if I remember correctly.
It was $600,000 for 1 year, okay. And they were able to invoice us. They have not invoiced us yet because they just recently hired the people. They're training them, but when they do start taking their wireless calls, then they'll be able to invoice us for that amount.
That's right. It was $600,000 for 5 years, and we took it to the 1 year at $600,000 to start the ramp up. So the expectation is then of the money, the 911 money, we would continue to provide funding to Cleveland to the tune of around $600,000 a year. Is that right?
That's correct.
And we receive, how much do we receive annually of the 911 funds?
This year we received approximately $2.8 million. In previous years it was 3.2. It went down a little bit, but again this past year it's about 2.8 million.
Yeah, it probably went down because the fee went from 27 to 25 cents. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 2.8. So we'll have about roughly 2.2 per year to offset some of our CCOMs costs. So is the expectation that CCOMs would then also serve as a PSAP? Meaning not only will we partner with an existing PSAP, but the expectation could be that that facility itself grow to handle additional PSAP needs of other communities as they come on board?
That's correct.
Right. Okay. Are we able to use the 911 money for PSAP, non-wireless receive site PSAP operations?
No.
No. So it's only related to the equipment and staff training related to.
There are restrictions. I think Brandy knows it better.
It's specific for wireless funding, for 911 wireless funding, and then there's even limitations in there. If you operate a 911 wireless center, but you want to use it for radio, you can't use it for all radio. You can use it for CAD, but not for radio equipment or end user radio equipment. So there are even restrictions, but it's specific to 911 wireless for the PSAP.
Okay. So as far as wireless PSAPs, we'll have 2, Cleveland and us. As far as EOCs, there's Cleveland and us. Will we absorb Cleveland's EOC at some point?
No, Cleveland will keep their own.
And so
we can coexist if needed to. If something happened in their area where they couldn't get to theirs, they can use ours. We'll have an MOU with them like we have with their facility.
Okay. And the last area was vehicle staging. So right now we're where do we stage our vehicles currently?
They're spread out all throughout the county, and we are looking at a couple options about consolidating that, and it's way too preliminary to even throw any locations out there. But clearly, we know that's a big push by the fire chiefs to get everything under one facility, and we're looking at different options.
So I was going to ask, were they all over the county for strategic purposes, or were they all over the county because of operational, so where we could find space?
Where we could find space, correct.
Because I know that there's some discussion with some communities who currently have bomb squads, as an example, to do away with the costs related to their bomb squad if they could partner with the county, as an example. So that may be another opportunity for us. I don't know how that factors into the vehicle staging component, because we have a few bomb squad units, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is it anticipated the staging could be at the CCOM's location?
That's not one of the locations that we're looking at right now. I don't believe, once the decision's made, I don't believe that it could go to any one of the places that we looked at.
Okay.
It wouldn't be able to hold it.
And operationally, does that cause a challenge? So I guess the previous design of having the vehicle staging and CCOM's EOC all in one was a kind of nice to have. So there's no federal requirement or standard that they should be
in one location? I mean, in the same location? No.
Okay, great. And when do we expect to have the CCOMs? The EOC plans are this Friday and CCOMs this Friday, or is that the
That's
timeline?
correct. We're trying to get everything, all the decisions made this week. Okay. And I can, whether singularly or meet again, and give a more specific plan.
Okay. All right, great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Germano.
Actually, Mr. Greenspan covered most of the areas I was interested in. Thank you.
This seems to be kind of like the area we were at with Brandt Carol before Shook came on board, who to this day, the only one I'm really solidly understanding was Shook. Are we at a point where, do we still have a contract with Shook?
That's a good question. That's a public works question. I don't know. But they're clearly qualified. We both agree on that.
Well, Mr. Greenspan's questions, some of his questions are things I wouldn't think of. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, are we at a point where there are some things that we're not thinking of? Clearly, the county and the city of Broadview Heights went with Brandt Carol, and that's where the problems came in. They had to bring Shook in to review what Brandt Carol had done, to find out that so many things had been left out.
Left out, correct.
Which was why the costs rose. Are we not at a point where we should maybe look at Shook to come in and look at where we're at when you're finally finished with your plans?
We could discuss that. That makes sense. I mean, because the redundancy on the generator, we're really trying to walk a thin line of balance and finances with.
Well, I mean,
but that makes perfect sense to have two generators.
I'll tell you this. I mean, we're at, we've already borrowed what? How many was it? 15 million.
15 million was bonded.
So we got 15 million to play with. Not that I want to play with it, but I want to do it right. Mm-hmm. And if the whole purpose of this was to get an EOC and a grand plan that makes sense, that covers everybody. And again, when it comes to safety, I don't know if you're allowed to use it's too expensive. We had that with the fire dampers, mm-hmm. which were laughed at and talked about until we had an occasion at the Justice Center where smoke was coming through the atrium, and then all of a sudden it wasn't a big laughing matter. Mm-hmm. I just think, again, I'd rather go slow and have it done right and not jump just to say we're going to jump. So I'm wondering, should we have that discussion with Shook as far as what we have and what on a minimal standard, not necessarily the FEMA standard, because we know even with our 18.5 or 21.5 or 24.5 building, we still weren't getting all the standards from FEMA. So I don't know how much we can rely on FEMA, but I'd like to get some of it where it's important. And again, Mr. Greenspan touches on a backup generator for the generator.
Well, we have the list that, you know, clearly we didn't throw away the list from Shook, so we'll definitely go over it again. But I agree with you, security should be number one.
Well, I would just throw this to the administration. These are questions I think we're gonna be asking again after Friday. And if they can't be answered, then I don't think we have a proper plan in front of us. I just wanna be comfortable going forward. There's a lot of eyes on this. We came out and we made some big grand promises to a lot of folks that matter, police chiefs and fire chiefs and councils and mayors, township trustees in this county and beyond, and then that kind of fell in on itself. I want to be able to offer at least the services going forward, and I still touch on CCOMs being the moneymaker for us. And I think you're going to be surprised, depending on location and what we're offering in CCOMs, the amount of cities that are going to be interested to come our way after feeling comfortable that we're doing the right thing. And that's why I say, credibility-wise, going forward, in my mind's eye, Shook's the only one out there that can do that for me. And if we still have a contract with them, maybe we need to look at bringing them in for at least on an advice consulting on what we have. Because again, I didn't even think of a backup generator. So,
Mr. Chairman, I think that Mike Dever's still in discussions with Shook, so at our next go-around, I'll make sure that we loop in Mike to come to discuss that.
I'd hate to have a presentation Friday that we're back with the Brandt Carol, where they miss too much. I mean, I'm not an expert at this, I'm a layperson, as all of us are, and we rely on our experts, and that's you. And that's fine, but if we have someone like Shook still available for consultation, I think we need to take advantage of that, because again, in my mind's eye, they were the only ones that made any sense of this project in the past. And I think we need to take advantage of everything we can, because Ms. Simon's got 4 cities blowing in the wind that are together, which is quite remarkable. They're still together. Wanting to go somewhere. So I want to make them feel comfortable.
I assure you, next time I'm standing in front of you, we'll have a very thorough package for you. We're just probably a week too early standing here.
Well, let's not set a date.
Okay.
Let's wait until this is locked down solid.
Okay.
So when we do meet again, and I'll wait for you to tell me when you're ready and when the administration's ready, that when we do meet again, that we can lock this thing down and move forward.
That'd be great.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Germano?
Yes. I think what'll be helpful is a checklist on what the Broadview Heights, what requirements or checklist they were going to have compared to the new place, so that we have an idea right down from all the FEMA requirements. What are we giving up? Or in some cases, maybe we're going to be better off than Broadview Heights.
Great point.
Well, I think, did anybody else?
Mr. Chair, to the chair's point, I got to be candid. And I didn't ask the question. I assume that Shook was involved in assisting in the design of both the EOC and CCOMs, but I guess I'm hearing they're not. So to Mr. Gallagher's point, we brought in 3.5 years ago a company that gave testimony, and the company called I'm drawing a blank on their name, but all they do is build, design, manage, dispatch PSAPs, because we don't have the expertise in house to do it. I mean, I'm not laying blame on anybody. It's a specialized field, and you need to have experts that understand the requirements and how to build it. Building out a space is different than building, and it'd be interesting to see Shook's feedback on the current plans, and as the chair said, give us feedback on how to make it. Is this right? We don't know, but there are people that do.
Right.
And as the chairman said, there's nothing more important than safety. So let's make sure we do this right.
Okay, I think I think you know where we're at. I know where you're at. Let me know when you're ready. And again, if it takes time, it takes time. I'd rather get this right this one last time. There's to reiterate, there's a lot of eyes on us.
I know.
And there's a lot of folks, as you know, that are not real happy. So we have to afford them an opportunity, or us an opportunity to get back in their good graces. And I think minimally that's what we need to offer. And again, my example is the 4 cities hanging in there. I mean, it's a minor miracle that they're still together wanting to go somewhere. So
And they are a strong 4 cities because we met with them. So
right. So so when you're ready, let me know. I'll let the committee know, and we'll set a meeting for that. I don't want to lock you in on a timeline.
No problem.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Miscellaneous business. Other public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
We're adjourned.